9 amazing TV shows with terrible pilot episodes. You know the feeling, scrolling through a streaming service, hoping to find a new obsession, and then landing on a show whose pilot is awful. Maybe the pacing is off, the acting feels stiff, or the plot is so convoluted you'd rather watch paint dry. Yet somehow these shows improve, evolve, and eventually become celebrated masterpieces. It's almost like the pilot exists in an alternate universe where everything went wrong before the show found its footing. Here are 9 amazing TV shows whose pilots were terrible, yet went on to become iconic. 1. Breaking Bad, 2008. When most people think of Breaking Bad, they picture Walter White's meticulous transformation from a mild-mannered chemistry teacher to a ruthless meth kingpin. What they often forget is that the pilot episode, while competent, was jarringly rough around the edges. The pacing was uneven, Bryan Cranston's transformation didn't feel fully realized, and some secondary characters lacked depth. Critics at the time were cautious, wondering if the show could sustain itself. But within a few episodes, Breaking Bad found its rhythm. The tension between Walter and Jesse, the carefully plotted morality arcs, and the precise cinematography elevated it into one of the greatest TV dramas of all time. The lesson? Don't judge a meth cook by his first batch. 2. Parks and Recreation, 2009. Parks and Rec. Today, it's a comedy powerhouse filled with endless quotable lines and lovable characters. Yet the pilot was awkward, to put it mildly. Amy Poehler's Leslie Knope came off as overbearing rather than charmingly optimistic. The humor felt forced, and the documentary-style format hadn't yet found its comedic groove. Fans and critics alike were lukewarm at first, but the writers and cast didn't panic. They adjusted the tone, deepened the characters, and embraced the absurdity of small-town politics. By season 2, Leslie Knope was one of the most endearing characters in television history, and the show's mockumentary style became iconic. 3. The Office, US, 2005. Speaking of mockumentaries, The Office US pilot is infamous for being a carbon copy of the UK version. The jokes were too British, the awkward pauses too long, and Steve Carell's Michael Scott hadn't yet found the perfect balance between cringe-inducing and lovable. Many viewers wondered if the show would survive its first season. Thankfully, the writers quickly learned to make Michael Scott his own character, the supporting cast blossomed, and the awkwardness became a comedic goldmine. Today, The Office is a cultural touchstone, meme factory, and binge-watching obsession, all despite a rocky start. 4. Game of Thrones, 2011. Yes, the pilot of Game of Thrones is widely criticized, so much so that some scenes were reshot, recast, or even rewritten entirely after initial filming. Sean Bean's first scenes as Ned Stark were promising, but many supporting actors were stiff, and the complex plotlines were barely coherent. Critics worried viewers would be lost in Westeros' sprawling politics and fantasy lore. Despite this shaky launch, the show quickly found its stride. The world building became immersive, the character arcs unforgettable, and the shocking plot twists made it appointment TV for millions. It's a reminder that even the most ambitious projects sometimes stumble at the starting line. 5. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 1997. Joss Whedon's cult classic began with a pilot that, honestly, felt more like a rough draft than a polished premiere. Buffy's initial portrayal was inconsistent, the special effects were low budget, and some dialogue was painfully on the nose. Early reviews were mixed, with critics unsure if a show about a teen vampire slayer could hold audiences' attention. However, Whedon's sharp writing, witty dialogue, and character depth soon won viewers over. Buffy grew into a feminist icon, the ensemble cast developed incredible chemistry, and the show became a landmark in sci-fi and teen drama. The pilot was just the warm-up act for the legend to come. 6. Mad Men, 2007. Mad Men is hailed today as a visual and narrative masterpiece, renowned for its meticulous attention to period detail and complex character development. Yet the pilot episode received a lukewarm response for some. Critics noted that Don Draper's character felt inscrutable, the dialogue slow, and the tone uncertain. Some viewers even thought it was boring. By the second episode, however, the show found its rhythm. Draper's layers unfolded, the supporting cast became more compelling, and Matthew Weiner's slow-burn storytelling style became a defining feature. The pilot might have been understated, but Mad Men proved that subtlety and patience can produce genius television. 7. Stranger Things, 2016. It's hard to imagine Stranger Things being anything but perfect, but its pilot had noticeable flaws. The pacing was uneven, Will Byers' disappearance felt rushed, and the ensemble kids weren't immediately fully realized. Critics praised the nostalgic 80s vibe, but were hesitant about the show's ability to balance horror, adventure, and coming-of-age drama. Once the season progressed, though, everything clicked. Eleven's mystery, the heartwarming friendships, and the terrifying upside down combined into a cultural phenomenon. The pilot's rough edges were smoothed out as the show hit its stride, making it Netflix's breakout hit. 8. The Simpsons, 1989. Before it became an animation juggernaut, The Simpsons pilot, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, was clunky and inconsistent in tone. The animation was rough, the humor more awkward than satirical, and the characters, especially Homer, weren't as sharp or lovable as they would become. It took a few episodes for the writers to find their voice, Homer to embrace his bumbling charm, and the family dynamics to crystallize. By season 2, The Simpsons had found its identity and went on to redefine animated television for decades. A bumpy pilot, yes, but a foundation for brilliance. 9. Doctor Who, 1963. Finally, a classic twist. The original Doctor Who pilot, an unearthly child, was confusing and oddly slow. The TARDIS looked cheap, the acting was uneven, and the time travel plot was hard to follow. Some viewers in 1963 didn't know what to make of this strange program about a mysterious doctor wandering through time and space. Yet the show endured. With the right 1009 of storytelling innovation, charismatic leads, and imaginative sci-fi plots, Doctor Who became the longest-running science